RV lots over capacity lease. Every deal plus there's zero out-of-pocket, out-exclusive Patriot. It's only $185 a month for $17,988. You can at the #1 Cherokee dealer, AC Nelson, 118 Mendel.
This is a story and it's also a story about people. People who rely on us every day to deliver their dreams. They're handing us more than mail. They're handing
Get away from my phone now.
And while we make more
Come on, get up here.
deliveries to everyone else in the country, we never forget that your business is our business. The United States Postal Service. Priority, you.
Are you tired of the noisy lawnmower waking you up or climbing the ladder to paint?
Put away the paintbrush forever with one call to Renewal by Andersen. Our patented advanced glass and Fibrex technology keeps your home quieter, more efficient, and maintenance-free.
This month, take 20% off everything. Windows, doors, installation, and upgrades. Save 20% with one call and we do it all.
Renewal by Andersen, today's technology.
Combined with timeless craftsmanship.
Renewal by Andersen, we love our new windows.
You're watching NBC Nebraska. This is an NBC News special report.
Good morning, everyone. I'm Savannah Guthrie alongside Craig Melvin, and we have some breaking news at this hour. And details are just coming in about a shooting that happened in Alexandria, Virginia, that is right outside of Washington, D.C. And reportedly, a member of Congress has been shot. This happened at a baseball field where we're understanding that they were practicing for a softball game that's coming up.
Congressional softball game set to happen tomorrow. NBC's Tom Costello is standing by on the phone. Tom, what more can you tell us at this point? What do we know?
Guys, good morning. We're in Alexandria, Virginia, just across the river from Washington. This occurred within the past hour or so, within the 7 o'clock hour Eastern time. A gunman allegedly opening fire on a group of members of Congress who were playing baseball, really practicing for a big baseball game that they have every year. That game is tomorrow night. They were on a practice field when a gunman apparently opened fire. We do have reports of people hit. We cannot tell you exactly who has been hit. There's one report that a gunman has been taken into custody, and that is where we stand at this point. There may be more coming in the next few minutes, but a tremendous amount of emergency equipment here in Alexandria, Virginia, with police, fire, rescue, all on the scene, and allegedly one gunman taken into custody. Guys, back to you.
And there are reports, as I mentioned at the top, that a member of Congress has been shot. But we just aren't clear yet whether or not that identity has been confirmed, and we have no reports at this hour of any fatalities, but as Tom just mentioned, potentially multiple shots fired.
Tom, you mentioned that there are reports that this gunman may be in custody. Is this an area that's on lockdown right now? Do they believe this is a gunman who acted alone? Do they think perhaps that he might be part of something larger? And again, the caveat here being that this is very early and all of this information is, of course, preliminary.
Yeah, Craig, there is so much police activity in this area. I'm still not able to get right up to the scene itself. I'm a couple of blocks away, and as you would expect, with this much police activity there, the streets are a bit locked down at the moment, difficult to get in close. So I can't answer your question as to whether they think other players might be involved here, but we do have a report that at least one gunman may be in custody at this point. There are also members of Congress tweeting out updates on themselves and reporting that multiple shots were fired, and that one report has it that a rifle was involved in the shooting, but we don't have that independently confirmed.
And Tom, sorry to interrupt you, but NBC has now confirmed that Steve Scalise, who is the Republican whip, a congressman in leadership in the United States Congress, was among those who was shot. Unclear on what his condition is at the moment. I want to go to Peter Alexander, who's at the White House, and I see that Sean Spicer, the White House press secretary, has said that both the president and vice president have been briefed. Peter, what more can you tell us?
Yeah, that's right. We're now hearing from the White House. Sean Spicer, the press secretary, who you'll remember formerly served at the Republican National Committee, so he has very close relationships with members of Congress that would include Steve Scalise, the Republican congressman from Louisiana. Spicer writing that both the president and vice president, as you noted, are aware of this developing situation in Virginia, adding that our thoughts and prayers are with all affected today. There are reports right now so far, not yet independently confirmed by NBC News, that Scalise was hit in the hip by gunfire today. Other reports, a lot of this coming through Twitter, many lawmakers and their aides communicating on the status right now on Twitter. One of them suggesting that Mo Brooks, another Republican lawmaker, actually used his belt as a tourniquet to try to stop some of the bleeding on one of the victims at this location there. This took place in an area of Alexandria, Virginia, known as the Delray area, that has largely been a gentrifying area. It's an area that has had some problems with crime in the past. At this point, still unclear whether, in fact, the victims here, those individuals who were hit, were specifically targeted, or if this was just violence that happened to take place in that area. But about this congressional baseball game that is, at least this morning, as of this morning, scheduled to take place tomorrow at the Nationals ballpark, the home of the Washington Nationals baseball team. This is really one of the few bipartisan opportunities that still exist in Washington with a deeply divided Congress right now. This is a chance for everybody to come together on days like tomorrow night. It's the reason why so many lawmakers get up for an early morning practice at 6 o'clock in the morning. We're going to work to get new details on exactly who was hit by these bullets.
Okay, and we are just getting this information, so forgive us as we try to put it together, but NBC has been able to confirm that Congressman Steve Scalise, who of course is the majority whip, one of the Republican leaders in the Congress, was among those shot. We believe there were multiple shots fired, and it's my understanding there is another congressman who was there at the time and may have been involved, as Peter mentioned, in administering aid. So we're continuing to just gather facts right now.
Peter, stand by for us if you can, sir, there at the White House. Let's get back to Tom Costello again. Tom, on his way to this baseball field in Northern Virginia. And again, Tom, at this point, since our last conversation, again, we're able to confirm that it was, in fact, Congressman Scalise who was shot, waiting on an update on his condition. Can you describe for us the scene where you are right now, Tom?
Yes, Craig, I've now managed to get up to the field, and there's a series of recreational fields, soccer fields, baseball fields, and the like. A very heavy police presence blocking all roads going into that area around the baseball field. So for several blocks, with fire and EMS personnel on the scene, as well as police. We don't see any, at this moment, don't see any officers who are tactically armed. In other words, we don't see any signs of SWAT, but that doesn't mean they're not here. It just may mean that this scene is big enough it's difficult to see where those people are. Also, police helicopters in the air above the scene.
Tom, not to put you on the spot, but you've been around Washington a long time. If a member of Congress is in a recreational setting like this, practicing baseball, is there any kind of security detail that would go along with that member of Congress?
You know, I really don't believe so, Savannah. Not for a typical member of Congress. You know, for the most part, as you know, they kind of come and go. They may or may not have a security individual watching over them or there for their protection, but this is not the kind of protection you would get with the president or the vice president or even a cabinet member, as you know.
This picture right now for our viewers at home, this is a look at Northern Virginia. This is Alexandria, Virginia, just over the bridge there, Washington, D.C. Word this morning of shots fired at a congressional baseball field, a congressional baseball game practice. Waiting to get a little bit more details here. Tom Costello for us on the phone. Tom telling us that the scene right now, roads blocked into those fields, fire and EMS, a large presence, of course, obviously there as well. Waiting to find out more about the suspect. Tom, I know that you indicated a short time ago that there are reports that there's a suspect in custody. Do you have any more information on that?
I'm afraid I don't, Craig, and candidly, as I try to make my way a bit closer up to the command post, I'm not even at this moment in a position to ask the police for an update. So you may have a little bit quicker access to information through the network news desk than I do at the moment.
Yeah, and obviously we're all over that. There are a lot of conflicting reports on Twitter at this moment, and this is one of those times that we try to take a deep breath and have some caution, because this is often in the early hours we get information that ultimately changes. So we want to be as careful as we can be, but we do know that a congressman has been shot, that apparently there was one shooter that we know of so far who fired multiple shots at this baseball practice.
I was in Washington, D.C. over the weekend, and there was a great deal of talk about the game. We'll get to that in just a moment, because these are the first pictures that we're getting in from the baseball field here in Northern Virginia. First pictures from the scene. Difficult to discern from this vantage point.
Is this a live picture? I'm going to ask our producer. It is a live picture. Okay.
And we just heard from Tom that this is in the area where you've got, if you look in the distance there to the right, you can see what appear to be baseball fields there, soccer field there in the front. Peter Alexander is still standing by for us with a little bit more information. Pete, what do you have?
Yeah, Craig, we're now hearing from the Alabama Congressman Mo Brooks, who was at this Republican baseball practice this morning as this took place. Here's what he is now saying in interviews. He's saying that behind third base on this practice field, he saw a rifle, and then he heard Steve Scalise, his colleague, the Republican from Louisiana, screaming. That was over near second base. He said Scalise then, bleeding, crawled into the outfield. Mo Brooks is detailing the harrowing scene now this morning. He says the two members of the Congressional Security Detail were among those who were shot, which is important because it indicates that these lawmakers did have members of their own security teams with them at the time. He also said that the shooter was hit by gunshots by security, who apparently were firing back at the time. Mo Brooks describes that when this all happened, he was in the on-deck circle, so basically just alongside home base, that he was looking out in the outfield. Again, as he mentioned, he saw someone, a shooter, behind third base. He saw the rifle, and that's when shots were fired. He is saying that there were at least 50 shots, or perhaps as many as 100 shots, as he's communicating it so far. This again coming from Mo Brooks, one of those Republican members of Congress who was at that baseball practice taking place early this morning. The shooting said to have taken place literally just shy of an hour ago at about 7:15 this morning, Craig and Savannah.
Yeah, and it sounds like Congressman Brooks is giving an interview. We have not had a chance to talk to him ourselves, but it sounds like he's describing this situation that's quite harrowing, and he reportedly is also somebody who was able to try to help aid Steve Scalise. Some people have talked about Mo Brooks, the congressman, using his belt as a tourniquet to address some of the bleeding, but we don't have any word right now on the congressman's condition, whether he's at the hospital, where he is right now. These softball practices are something of a rite of summer in Washington, and members of Congress go, staffers go, so there would have been quite a few people there at this baseball field in Alexandria, Virginia. For those who aren't familiar with the geography, this is right across from the river from Washington, D.C., and from many